I first saw him walking past the front desk like he owned the building, shiny dress shoes tapping that slick tile floor, louder than they needed to be. Didn't shake hands, didn't smile, didn't even look around. Just strolled in with that stiff leather briefcase and a face that said he already had his mind made up. Name was Nolan Garrett, our new CEO, maybe 36 or 37. The kind of young that doesn't come with energy, it comes with entitlement. Guys like him walk in thinking they're here to rescue us. Truth is, they don't know the first thing about how anything actually runs. I'd been sitting in my corner office, nursing my third coffee of the morning and reading through last quarter's contract renewals. The door to the executive suite opened, and there he was. Perfect suit. No coat even though it was cold as hell out. Tall. Way too sure of himself. Corporate had sent out one of those phony emails the week before. We're thrilled to welcome Nolan Garrett as our new CEO, ushering in a bold new era of strategic transformation. That kind of sugar-coated nonsense. You read enough of those over 20 years, and you start seeing the real message behind the words. Quick note, before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. He didn't stop at my office, didn't glance, nothing. Just passed right by like I wasn't even there. I wasn't top brass, but I wasn't nobody either. 22 years at Ridgemont Systems. Started in logistics, moved to client relations, spent the last decade handling our biggest international accounts, especially North River Automotive out of Osaka. I'd seen CEOs come and go. Some shook hands, some made speeches. This one walked like the place was already his, and maybe it was. That briefcase wasn't just full of papers. It was full of decisions already made. I got up and shut my door. Not because I was scared. I just didn't feel like being watched when the next email dropped. The office always gets weird when someone like Nolan shows up. Even the walls feel it. The silence shifts. People talk a little softer. You can smell the fear before it hits your inbox. No one said it out loud, but we all knew. Somebody was getting cut. Maybe a whole group. And once the slicing starts, it doesn't stop at dead weight. It goes wherever the numbers tell it to. I sat back down, cracked my knuckles, and opened the North River file. If I was getting axed, I'd go out doing the job right. But I knew better. Guys like Nolan don't care what you've done. They only care what you cost. And I was about to cost him more than he could afford. By Wednesday of the second week, you could feel it, like the floor itself was waiting for something to break. Quiet meetings started popping up behind glass-walled offices. HR moved around like ghosts, barely making eye contact. You'd hear low voices and then nothing. No announcements, no emails, just people disappearing. First to go were the mid-tier managers, solid folks, steady, knew the systems inside and out. People who didn't need hand-holding or PowerPoints to explain what they did. They kept things moving without needing credit. One by one, they were just gone. Some packed their desks in silence. Some didn't even get that far. Walked into a meeting and never came back. Their replacements showed up the same day. All Nolan's people. You could tell by the clothes, tailored suits, pocket squares, shiny watches that screamed, "Look at me." Fresh off LinkedIn, full of buzzwords and fake smiles, one of them stopped by my desk, all friendly. "Hey, do we have a current contact list for all client-side regional managers?" I couldn't find it in the shared drive. I stared at him. "You mean the list we retired 4 years ago when they centralized international accounts? That list?" He blinked like I'd spoken another language. "Oh, guess I'll check with IT. I didn't bother correcting him. He wouldn't last 6 months. They called it modernization. Brought in flat screens, standing desks, even a juice bar upstairs. Like furniture made us innovative. What they actually did was gut the place. Tore out the memory of how things ran and replaced it with clueless confidence. These kids were good at talking fast and doing nothing. Meanwhile, I kept my head down and ran point on the Osaka contracts. North River was deep into their planning cycle. Timelines, production rollouts, new logistics pathways, stuff we'd spent years building trust around. One misstep, and they'd walk. But I knew what was coming. Nolan was moving fast, too fast. I could see the pattern, layoffs first, reorgs next, then redundancy reviews. He wasn't making decisions with people in mind. It was all numbers and optics. On Thursday, I passed by the break room and saw Trina from accounting crying quietly in the corner. I didn't ask what happened. I already knew. Her boss was gone, her backup was gone, and some 28-year-old with a business degree from Chicago was now telling her how to do a job she'd done better than anyone for 15 years. The worst part, no one said anything. That's how fear works. It doesn't scream, It's silences. I didn't say much either. I'd seen this before. Different suits, same story. But every time Nolan walked past me, my gut got tighter. He still hadn't spoken a word to me. Still hadn't asked about North River, or the other international clients I handled. Hell, he probably couldn't even tell you what I did. I was a line item to him. Salary plus benefits. Nothing more. I stayed late most nights that week. Not because I was scared. Because I knew the axe swings wild when the guy holding it doesn't know what he's cutting. So I stayed sharp. Filed reports early. Flagged red lines in the Japan account with full documentation. Covered my ass. Because I wasn't gonna beg for a seat at a table I built. I was gonna make sure that if he came for me, it'd cost him more than he could cover. Next Thursday, we were all crammed into the main conference room. Same stale coffee, same stiff chairs, same tension, thick enough to chew. Nolan stood at the front, sleeves rolled, hands moving like he was giving a TED talk. Cutting waste, streamlining departments, strategic realignment. He said it like he just invented the concepts. A few of the new hires nodded along. The rest of us, we sat still. No one wanted to blink the wrong way. Then he dropped the real hammer. Every team will be reviewed over the next 2 weeks. Top down, no exceptions. I didn't move, didn't ask questions. I just looked around, saw shoulders stiffen, saw lips pressed tight. A couple folks glanced down at their phones, probably checking bank apps or texting their spouses. Some of us had kids in college. Some had mortgages younger than this CEO. He kept going like we were a room full of interns. We're building leaner systems, smarter operations. Every role must add measurable value. That phrase, measurable value, might as well be a bullet. Guys like Nolan don't see relationships or history, just columns and costs. Loyalty means jack when someone's chasing a bonus. After the meeting broke, people scattered fast. You could feel it. Everyone scrambling to look busy, stay seen, stay useful. I was gathering my notes when I heard him behind me. Hey, you, remind me your name? I turned. Warren, Matt Warren. He nodded like he was pretending to remember. Right. What do you do again? I kept my voice steady. I manage our Japanese client relationships, not just communication, culture, contracts, face, reputation, especially North River Automotive. He blinked. Dead stare, like I'd just recited a grocery list in a foreign language. Then he smiled, tight, fake. Right, yeah, appreciate the work you're doing. We're outsourcing a lot of that soon. Then he walked away, just like that. Half a conversation, zero understanding. Outsourcing. To who? Some offshore vendor who barely knows the time zone, let alone the dynamics of a billion-dollar Japanese manufacturing relationship. I went back to my office and shut the door. Didn't sit. Just stood there for a second, staring at the wall. He had no idea what I actually did. He didn't understand the dinners, the flights, the gift exchanges, the hours spent earning trust 1 damn inch at a time. He didn't know how quick you could lose a client like North River just by mishandling a single phrase. Not because of price, because of pride. I sat down and opened the current project file. We were weeks away from a major contract renewal. If we blew it, that deal would die. And if that deal died, the whole department would bleed out. Around 3, I passed HR on my way to grab a coffee. Director was walking out of her office, saw me, paused, gave me this tight-lipped nod, like she wanted to say something but couldn't. She looked a little pale, hands fidgeting with a folder. That's when I knew. My number was coming up. Friday morning, the email hit my inbox at 8:12. Subject line, meeting, 10:30 a.m., no agenda, no title, just Nolan and HR listed as attendees. Didn't need a memo to know what that meant. The office was too quiet when I walked in. You could tell people knew. Heads stayed down, screens lit up. Nobody made eye contact. HR had already claimed its spot by the conference room, folder in hand, coffee untouched. I cleaned off my desk, slow and neat. Not sentimental, just deliberate. Keyboard centered, stapler back in place, notebook closed. 22 years, and that's what it all boiled down to. A clean desktop before the walk. At 10:29, I knocked once and stepped in. Nolan was already there, leaning back like it was another routine catch-up. He smiled, wide and rehearsed. HR's director sat stiff beside him, that same pale look I'd noticed yesterday. Matt, he said, all cheerful. Thanks for coming in. I sat down, didn't bother with small talk. He launched right into it. We've been reviewing departmental efficiencies and found some overlap in international operations. The company's moving in a new direction, leaner, more agile. HR nodded like a metronome. He kept going. We absolutely appreciate your years of service. Truly. This isn't about performance, it's about structure. I could have recited it word for word with him. Every phrase was polished corporate garbage, boilerplate for a hit job. When he finally paused for breath, I looked him dead in the eye. "You're sure you can handle it without me?" He chuckled. "We'll be just fine." That was it. That was the moment I decided he wasn't worth hating. He was worth proving wrong. He slid a white envelope across the table. "This includes your severance, accrued vacation, all the details." I didn't touch it. Didn't even glance at the HR rep. Just stood, straightened my jacket, and said, "Then I guess that's that." He reached like he might offer a handshake, but I was already turning. The envelope stayed on the table. 22 years, gone in under 10 minutes. No handshake, no thank you, just a folder and a fake smile. When I stepped out, the hallway looked longer than usual. People at their desks kept pretending to type. Nobody met my eyes. I didn't blame them. I'd seen that look before, the one that says, "Better you than me." I pushed through the lobby doors and hit the rain. It wasn't a drizzle either. It was that steady, soaking kind that fills your shoes by the time you reach the car. Didn't bother running, just kept walking across the lot, feeling the water slide down my collar, soaking my shirt. No tears, no shaking, nothing like that. Just a calm I hadn't felt in years. Because under all that noise and rain, I knew something Nolan didn't. Things were about to change. Not right away, but soon. I didn't go back inside when I got home that Friday. I sat in the car for almost an hour, rain tapping the windshield while the engine clicked in the cold. Didn't call anyone. Didn't need to. That weekend, I cleared out the home office. Shredded a drawer full of old contracts. Stacked what I needed, boxed the rest. Wiped the laptop. I'd kept it neat over the years, mostly out of habit. Now it looked sterile, like a room waiting for its next chapter. A couple texts trickled in from old coworkers. "Sorry, man. Bullshit move." That kind of thing. One brave soul even asked if I was okay. Most stayed silent. I didn't blame them. Fear's loud when it's close. But Sunday night, a name popped up I hadn't seen in years. Craig Toller. We met at an automotive trade show back in Phoenix. He was running strategy for a boutique consulting firm at the time. Weston and Bray. Solid guy, sharp. He'd heard. His message was simple. "You free to talk Monday morning? I've got something for you." At 9 a.m. sharp, I walked into their office downtown. Glass walls, no ego, no fake plants, no weird slogans taped to whiteboards. Just people who knew what the hell they were doing. Craig shook my hand like it meant something. We sat for 20 minutes. No PowerPoints, no fluff. He already knew what I brought to the table. By noon, I had an offer in writing, better pay, more say, and best of all, respect. That night, I poured a glass of bourbon and sat out on the back porch. First time in months, I didn't feel like I was waiting for something bad to happen. But the story wasn't over. Not even close. Tuesday morning, I got a ping from a friend still at Ridgemont. "Nolan replaced you with a rotating team out of Singapore." Of course he did. Cheaper on paper, easier to control. Too bad he didn't know a damn thing about how Japanese clients think. 2 hours later, another message came in. This one made me laugh. "He called you a gatekeeper, said you were clinging to old ways." Gatekeeper? Hell yeah, I was. That gate had held together half the international revenue they were now fumbling to hold on to. He thought I was done, but I'd just started planning, because Nolan wasn't going to crash quietly, and I wasn't going to stop it. By the end of the week, I'd already heard the Osaka team was flying in. Mr. Sato himself. 3-year renewal on the table. One of Ridgemont's biggest international contracts. $18 million tied to a handshake and a hell of a lot of trust. Monday, 10 a.m. sharp. Nolan sat in the Ridgemont boardroom with his new strategy lead, 2 junior consultants, and someone dialing in from Singapore. All of them fresh-faced, all of them clueless. I wasn't there in person. Didn't need to be. I watched it unfold from my office downtown. Craig had eyes everywhere. They started the meeting with the usual routine. Coffee, greetings, some small talk. Nolan took the lead. Probably thought his charm could close the gap. He dove straight into the pitch, buzzwords and metrics, charts on a screen, talked about cross-functional agility and global integration, smiled like he was doing them a favor. Mr. Sato didn't smile back. He sat with his hands folded, face blank. That polite quiet the Japanese do when they're deciding if you're worth the trouble. I'd seen it before. I knew that looked too well. Nolan kept going, joked about Ridgemont being leaner and meaner, referred to them as legacy clients like that was a compliment. They barely nodded. Then halfway through the slide deck, Sato held up a hand. Didn't raise his voice. Didn't even look angry. "We would like to speak with Mr. Warren." Nolan blinked. A beat too long. "I'm sorry, Mr. Warren no longer works here. We've improved efficiency with a new support structure." Sato didn't flinch. "That was a mistake." That's all he said. He stood. The other two men with him stood too. They bowed. Nolan froze. "Perhaps we will revisit discussions at a later time," Sato added as they walked out. No handshake, no second chance. By 11:15, the deal was dead. 18 million, gone before lunch. I sat at my desk, leaned back, and looked out across the downtown. Didn't smile, didn't pump a fist. Just watched the emails start pouring in. A client like North River doesn't just walk. When they walk, others pay attention. By 2 hours, Ridgemont's legal team was trying to contain the fallout. Someone from their executive assistant pool called Weston and Bray, asking for a confidential sit-down. I didn't respond. Nolan had no idea how bad he'd just screwed himself. That contract wasn't just revenue, it was validation. It was the thread holding his entire transformation strategy together, and he pulled it with both hands. Back at Weston and Bray, Craig came by my office late afternoon. "Was that the big one?" he asked. I nodded. "That was Sato." He gave a low whistle. "Think they'll recover?" "Not fast enough," I said, closing my laptop. "They broke what they didn't understand. That doesn't fix easy." Outside, the sun was already dipping low over the skyline. I slipped on my coat and grabbed my keys. One door had closed, but this one, wide open. I was halfway through drafting a proposal when my phone rang Thursday afternoon. Number popped up with a familiar area code, but I knew that voice before he even said his name. "Hey, Matt," Nolan said, all fake casual like we were old buddies. "Thought maybe we could collaborate, talk options, maybe bring you back on a consulting basis." I let him talk. His tone was light, but there was a twitch under it, something tight, rushed, the kind of panic you can't quite hide. Translation: the walls were closing in, and he needed someone to clean up his mess. "I'm open to a conversation," I said. "You know where to find me?" He asked if we could meet that evening. I told him no. "Friday, 9. My office." He paused for half a beat too long, then agreed. Next morning, he showed up 5 minutes early, smiling like none of it ever happened. Slick suit, that same leather briefcase, but the shine was wearing off. I let him in, shut the door, didn't offer him coffee. He stood awkwardly for a second, then eased into the chair across from me. "Appreciate you taking the time," he said, like I didn't know he'd been cornered. I was thinking, with everything happening, maybe there's an opportunity here. I waited. "We don't need to make this public," he continued. "No title, no need for announcements. Just help us smooth things over with North River. Quietly, informally." I leaned back, kept my face still. "You want me to patch the hole you drilled through your own hull?" I said. He gave that nervous chuckle, tried to brush it off. "Come on, let's not frame it like that." I nodded slowly. "Sure." His eyes lifted. "Really?" "Yeah," I said, "but on my terms." He shifted in the chair. "Okay, what terms?" "You'll find out." He laughed again, but softer this time. Uneasy, I didn't. He left 20 minutes later. Didn't shake my hand on the way out this time. That weekend, I got to work. Not on their problems, on mine. On my plan, the real one. Quiet, sharp, permanent. I didn't care about saving Ridgemont. I wasn't going back to fix anything. I was going back to finish something. And I'd make damn sure Nolan never saw it coming. Monday morning, I walked back into Ridgemont for the first time since the rain. No welcome, no announcement, just a thin plastic temp badge clipped to my belt and a list of contacts to support printed off by HR. The receptionist didn't even look up when I signed in. I took the stairs instead of the elevator. Slower, quieter. Let me see who was still around. Some old faces, some new ones, all of them moving fast but looking lost. Nolan was in a meeting when I arrived, which was fine by me. I wasn't there for small talk. By 2 p.m., I had regained access to the client database through one of the junior analysts. He handed me a laptop with everything unlocked. "If you need anything else, just email help desk," he said. I nodded, then closed it and pulled out my own. By 3:00, I'd already dialed the one number that mattered. Mr. Sato answered on the second ring. "Warren San," he said, calm, measured, but I heard the edge in his voice, like he was waiting for someone to give it to him straight for once. "I want to be clear," I told him. "No corporate script, no pitch, just the truth." He said nothing. I didn't leave Ridgemont. I was cut, replaced with consultants who didn't understand the relationship, the culture, or the responsibility. They broke it. "I'm not calling to ask for anything. I just thought you deserved the facts." He didn't interrupt, let it land. After a moment, he asked, "Where are you now?" "Weston and Bray," I said. "Fully independent, built on respect, not quarterly targets." He paused, just long enough to let the weight of it settle. "Then maybe we bring our business to someone who understands partnership." He hung up without another word. I sat back, let out a slow breath. That wasn't a win yet, but it was a crack in the wall. By Friday, I had it all lined up. A quiet meeting, off-site, private room at the Centennial Club downtown. No slides, no PR, no signatures. Just Sato's team, 3 Weston and Bray execs, and me. We laid it all out, transparent, no promises we couldn't keep. They didn't sign anything that day, but they didn't need to. The handshake said enough. Back at Ridgemont, Nolan's crew was still flailing. I passed one of his junior leads in the hall, muttering into his phone, trying to explain why a logistics report didn't line up with the shipment data. They didn't see me, didn't recognize me even. That was the beauty of it. I moved quiet, invisible. Nolan had no idea what was happening right under his nose, and I stayed silent. Because the long game isn't about revenge, it's about leverage. And by the end of that week, I had it. By the following week, Nolan's house of glass started cracking. First, a logistics firm out of Phoenix walked, quietly. No explanation, just pulled their contract and moved on. Then a supplier in Indiana paused payments pending internal review. Staff started quitting in pairs, middle managers, support staff, even one of the junior consultants he brought in from Singapore. The emails piled up. The phone stopped ringing. And the office, once loud with fake energy, turned dead silent. He didn't see the pattern, not at first. He thought it was a blip. He didn't know the rot was already at the core. Friday morning, I typed a 6-word email. Subject, need to talk. Body, let me know when you're free. 10 minutes later, Nolan replied, conference room, C1130. Same room where he'd cut me loose. Fitting. When I walked in, he was already there. Tie loosened, eyes red. He looked 10 pounds lighter, and not in a good way. He stood like he wasn't sure whether to shake my hand or apologize. I did neither. Appreciate you coming, he said, trying for steady. Look, I think we both know we need to course correct. We lost some footing, but with your help, I think we can still fix this. I sat down. Slow, calm. Let him dig the hole a little deeper. You're talking like we're partners, I said. We're not, he blinked. I know things got off track, but we've both got skin in this. You helped build this place. No, I said. I built something. You dismantled it. He opened his mouth, but I cut him off. You're not my boss, Nolan. You're my cautionary tale. He stared, like he couldn't quite process it. Then I dropped the match. Sato's contract? I said. That's ours now. He didn't speak, didn't move, just sat there, frozen. The color drained from his face. He looked down at the table, then back at me, but the fight was gone. That was the moment he realized the engine was already dead, and I wasn't coming to jumpstart it. I stood, adjusted my cuff. I didn't do this to you, I said. You did. Then I turned and walked out. No looking back, no satisfaction speech, just the weight of the silence behind me. This time, I wasn't coming back. Ridgemont didn't explode. It just sagged, like a tent with the stakes pulled out. Didn't make a sound, just slowly collapsed under its own weight. By the end of the quarter, the board pushed Nolan out, called it early retirement, but everyone knew what it meant. No press release, no send-off. One day he was there, the next he wasn't. They brought in some gray-haired consultant from DC to clean up the mess. Interim title, steep hourly rate, big promises, too little, too late. The clients that mattered had already crossed the street. Weston and Bray didn't take them all, just the ones worth keeping. The ones who understood value wasn't about volume, it was about trust. I didn't have to sell them on anything. They came because they knew I knew them. That was the difference. Nolan never learned it. A few weeks later, I was heading to lunch with Craig, small sushi spot 2 blocks from our office. As we crossed Franklin Avenue, I looked up. Ridgemont's building. It looked smaller somehow, like it had aged 10 years in one. Blinds closed, lights off on half the floor. The big sign out front still there, but the gold lettering was starting to peel. I didn't stop, didn't wave, just kept walking. I didn't need to burn the place down. I just opened a door and let the wind do the rest. Nolan, I heard he's trying to start something new. Some advisory firm or consulting outfit, probably trying to rebrand himself as a turnaround expert.